I really enjoyed Manodrome, and we're really entering Ralphie's life in an interesting point. I think it's really core to the story that's being told that he is about to become a father, because that's a very vulnerable part in anyone's life. You're thinking about what it means to be a role model, to be a father, to be a man, and you definitely can see how you could get warped by like the wrong influences during that part of your life. So can you speak to the importance of fatherhood in the movie? Because I thought that was really core.
Thank you so much, Tyler. And you're exactly correct. And that is like, I would say the exact like trigger for this person's mental breakdown or emotional, psychological breakdown, which is that, this is a guy, my character, Ralphie, is like somebody who has like struggled forever with their own feelings of masculinity, sexuality, questions about their own feelings of being an adult or just a man in the world, or questioning, every aspect of themselves. And exactly as you say, he's about to have a baby, and I think like this, I would say, is the trigger that catalyzes his psychological breakdown. And it's because of exactly what you said. When you're becoming a father, first of all, you have to kind of like live outside yourself. Your responsibilities are now towards somebody else, quite explicitly, to a vulnerable child. And then also, I think it forces you to kind of question your own childhood, of how are you going to kind of correct the mistakes that you think were made in your childhood, and how you think you could raise something better than yourself. And then, of course, the fear that if I am this tortured, isn't my child going to be just as tortured? And why would I perpetuate the cycle of awful torture onto another human being? And so all of these things manifest at the very worst time in my character's life, including losing a job at a factory, including questioning his own sexuality. And then finally, the worst thing of all, he gets kind of like roped into this male cult, which confuses him and pushes on every vulnerable button he has.
Yeah, and I was really impressed by your performance in this role. You got very swole, and it's certainly a departure from what we usually see from you. It's not like a chatty role. Can you speak to Ralphie? Because this role kind of challenges you both, as an actor and your range, but also physically. I thought it said a lot that, you're willing to go for these types of roles that, one might not specifically think of you for.
Oh, well, again, thank you so much for saying that. And to me, I would do this every day if given the opportunity. I mean, most movies don't really feature characters like this to begin with. I mean, most movies are about pretty accessible kind of people, where you're playing somebody that the audience is familiar with. And so, no, I mean, when I read the script, I thought, oh, this is brilliant, and I'll do anything I can to do a good job in this. So that was the feeling. But I think I'm probably speaking for 99% of actors who are doing things that that appear quite similar to them. I mean, 99% of actors went to drama school and they started out acting because they wanted to do these kinds of roles that really ask them to go kind of like, I would say, a little more emotionally uh, thorough into their own experiences, into their own expressions, but just don't have the opportunity to do. And so for me, I got to be in, I would say, like 3 movies like this. This one, a movie called The Art of Self-Defense, and a movie called The Double. All of these movies seemed like a nightmare, seemed like somebody had a nightmare and then wrote it down. In the movie The Double, it was based on a Dostoevsky novella and does not read with logic, but it reads with emotional logic. And then in this movie too, when I read the script, I thought, oh, everything makes sense emotionally, but not all of it makes sense plot wise. Like, why is my character suddenly attacking a stranger on the street or in a bathroom? And it's because this character feels so much shame and rage that of course he has to attack this person. But if you were going to describe the plot line of this movie, those things would sound more confusing.
Adrien Brody, he's just phenomenal in this film too. What really stood out about him as a scene partner? Because I think the scenes you both share are really powerful.
Adrien has an unusual quality personally, which is this very engaging, warm, and also kind of mysterious quality. And so he has that on set. So you're having a conversation with him at lunchtime, and you think, oh, this guy is really drawing me in. He's very engaging. He's quite mysterious. I can't exactly pinpoint what he's thinking about now, but he's also quite warm and seems quite friendly. And then you're on the set, and my character, who's this like kind of, deeply deeply confused, vulnerable person is looking into that same person's eyes, but here he's playing a character, and having all of those same feelings. While this guy seems totally engaging, and while I don't know exactly what he's thinking, he seems more assured than I do. He seems like he knows what's going on, and it would be great to be able to live in his world rather than living in my world. And so it's kind of almost this weird, seamless transition because he has all of these great qualities.
Yeah, there's definitely that charisma and ability to draw you in, which makes perfect sense for him to be the cult leader. Because I mean, he'd probably he'd probably drag me into it too. You know, you
Yes,
see
exactly.
Adrien Brody.
And the word you described, that kind of charisma, which is not just like energy and joy, but also mysterious and alluring.
And this film really explores masculinity, good parts, bad parts. So when you hear that phrase, what do you think it means to, be a man?
Well, luckily, the phrase be a man has changed from my childhood to now. And so this is a great, I would say, kind of wonderful step for society that be a man doesn't mean just one thing. When I was a kid, I think it pretty much meant one thing. And I did not feel, adequate in that regard because I went to kind of like a sports heavy suburban school. I didn't go to school with like, artsy kids where like there was multiple different ways to excel. And so like being a man, yes, means different things to different people. And the wonderful thing about this movie is it pushes on every single button. It pushes on, sexuality. It pushes on, domestic life, and it pushes on the physique of what a man should look like, and it pushes on all these buttons in ways that are both explicit and also confusing. It doesn't try to answer these questions of like, oh, the good version of this person would be a good father and very strong and caretaking and have a good job. I play a character who doesn't have a job, who can't take care of his partner, who most likely won't be able to take care of his newborn child, and and is struggling to kind of turn his physique into something that is like a body armor. And so this movie, I think, doesn't answer any of those questions as much as like push on all those buttons in a really effective way.
And then my last question for you, Lionsgate's been talking about Now You See Me 3. Is that something you've been approached about? Would you be interested in that?
Yes, yes, yes. We're supposed to do it early next year. I can't wait. Unlike a movie like this where my character is experiencing such like deep rage, anxiety, and depression, my character in that is like so confident and like is a performer and a showman. And it's just like a breath of fresh air as an actor to get to live in that kind of world too.